Welcome back to Optimize with Jeffrey Delaney. I am Mike Muller. Today we are going to be covering GLPs. I feel like they have taken the world by storm. The quote unquote, the miracle drug is going to solve all problems. There's studies coming out. It can prevent cancer. It can prevent heart disease. It can do all these crazy things. So I want to talk about them today. Can you explain to everyone what are GLPs?
So GLPs are glucagon-like peptides, actually been around forever, right? There's older ones back in the day. They've kind of evolved over the years. They became pretty kind of on the scene, known for weight loss in 2018. Most people know GLPs as either Ozempic or Wegovy, which is the actual peptide semaglutide. One of the newer ones that actually came out, I think it was 2021, was Tirzepatide, which is a GLP-2. It has glucagon, or gastric inhibitory peptide and glucagon-like peptide, which I'll explain in a second. And then you have a new guy about to come out that's kind of waiting to be able to get to the market. It's a GLP-3, which is it has the GLP-1, has a GIP just like Tirzepatide, and then it has glucagon. These medications are actually used for or brought to the market for diabetes, type 2 diabetes. They're peptides, though, that actually tell your pancreas or improve how your pancreas works. So a lot of people that maybe haven't done GLPs that have diabetes prior to maybe took metformin, which can help pull down your overall glucose. The GLPs actually improve how your pancreas works, which pulls, your A1C down, your circulating glucose down, remarkable for diabetes. And that's kind of what, when Ozempic came to the market in 2018, it was geared towards diabetes. It wasn't even meant for weight loss. It was like one of the newer GLP-1s. They ran their 68 weeks like trial that they did, and they saw that people lost a significant amount of weight. And they're like, oh shoot, why? And so semaglutide has a way more pronounced to slow down gastric emptying. So people felt a lot more full. It actually still improved how the pancreas works. So the blood sugar came down. They lost weight from that. But in that study, they saw a significant amount of weight loss versus any other GLP prior to it. And that's kind of where Wegovy came from. Same company, same medication or same peptide, semaglutide. They kind of, a couple years after, they kind of said, okay, we got a whole nother market here. Mm-hmm. Let's go to the weight loss market. Same peptide, same application, diabetic application. And then it opened the door for Tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro, came to the market for diabetes. And they're like, holy crap, this one had even more weight loss. So they did exactly what they did with Ozempic, and basically came out with Zepbound. Weird name. I don't know why they did it, but same application, same everything. And so those peptides actually improve how the pancreas works. Which has helped a lot of people lose some weight over the years. But with that peptide, there's a lot of good publicity and there's a ton of bad publicity with it. And there's numerous reasons why.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the pros and cons of someone that wanted to hop on, say, Ozempic?
No. So Ozempic, a lot of times if you're going to go on Ozempic, they're going to write you because you have type 2 diabetes. So that's why they came out with Wegovy, so they could do it more for obesity or weight management with a cofactor. So that's why I think a lot of people have problems getting certain ones or the other, because it depends on what they're classed for.
Yeah.
But what they do, it allows, and I don't like putting weight to medication or peptides like this. I've been in the weight loss world for a long time. One of the most remarkable things I've seen to help people kind of have some discipline and willpower to actually adhere to a plan, right? And I think the biggest thing is people are uncontrolled hunger, uncontrolled blood sugar, never feeling satiated, which allows that it makes it hard for them to diet, obviously, to get on a plan, to be in a calorie deficit, to lose weight. So I've seen it help so many people that have struggled to just lose weight, start losing weight. That's usually from losing weight in general, you're going to see a lot of your health markers improve. By getting your blood sugar controlled, you're going to see a lot of your health markers improve. And I kind of fast forward to now, it's like, oh my God, these things could be fixing all kinds of cardiovascular disease. A lot of it has to stem from having controlled blood sugar and reducing some body fat. And there's actually a new one about to come out, Retatrutide. It was supposed to launch this month, but I think they're a little bit delayed. They're saying it's going to be even better than the previous two. Personally, I feel like all of them are too strong in the application. So as much as I love them, I don't like the application of them. And that's kind of been a problem. So, most people have been taking Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, and they've been taking it high dose, and they get to the point where they're nauseous or they're sick or they don't want to eat. And then they're losing weight, but they're losing muscle tissue. And what happens with muscle tissue loss over time is their body downregulates metabolism. And if they're not really learning nutrition or learning how to eat and doing it the right way, they're setting themselves up to be in a worse spot when they're finished. Just like somebody who dieted the wrong way and just did a starvation diet, they come off of that. If they go right back to their old habits, what happens? They put all that weight back on and then some, and it does put them in a worse position. And I'm starting to see a lot of that from the application of it. I always say the poison's in the portion. And so, as much as I love it, I also hate it for the way it's being applied.
Yeah. So it's not a magic bullet. You have to have good nutrition. You have to exercise. It's not taking a pill solves all for you.
Nothing will ever supersede having a proper nutrition plan. And then for people trying to lose weight, losing it the right way, because anybody could lose weight. It's like, how do I lose fat and keep muscle? And that's only going to come from proper nutrition setup in conjunction with these GLP-1, 2, 3s.
Mm. So, I mean, from the conversations I had with you, from some studies that I've seen, it has all these benefits where it could combat heart disease. It could combat cancer. It can combat diabetes. It can virtually solve obesity. I've been seeing lately all over the place that we could be at risk of losing them. They take them away so you can no longer have access to these things. Is that true? Why is that?
Yeah. So a lot of times when these medications come or these peptides come to the market, the manufacturer actually has a patent on them, usually 25 or 30 years. What's been allowed to happen is when a big pharma brings something to the market and they create a demand for something, the minute they can't fulfill that demand, it opens up. That's why compound pharmacy exists, which has made it a lot more cost effective for people to get these GLP-1, 2s. But what happens is when they can't fulfill the demand of that product that they came out with, their patent kind of goes to the back burner, and these pharmacies can step up in production and produce it to fill the gaps. And a lot of times now you're not paying big pharma money, right? So that's been kind of what's been going on over the last few years is they created a demand. They weren't ready for the demand just because it did so well with people losing weight, and they marketed the crap out of it. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we can't keep up. So now these pharmacies, other pharmacies, compound pharmacies are making it, and they've made it a lot more cost effective for the average person to be able to get them, especially even if their insurance, they don't have insurance or their insurance won't cover it. And so a lot more people have been able to try them and get results from them, good or bad, and so now what's happening is they're ramping up production, and they're supposed to be coming off shortlist here soon for Tirzepatide, which is Mounjaro, Zepbound. The minute that happens, once it's off shortlist, nobody's allowed to produce it except for big pharma, right? The manufacturer. Same thing's about to happen to semaglutide. We'll see how it goes. I mean, they kind of opened up a can of worms on something that they probably didn't expect to be as big as it was going to be, and the demand to be as big as it's going to be. So the question is, does it stay on short? If it stays off short list, you're going to have to go through your doctor. Your insurance is going to have to cover it. If your insurance don't cover it, you're talking $1,000 a month, couple $1,000 a month. But big pharma is going to get theirs.
So it costs, if you didn't have insurance, it costs $1,000, a couple thousand a month. How much?
Well, through brand name. So compound pharmacies have been able to offer it much cheaper.
Okay.
Clinics like mine, same thing, is we're able to offer it cheaper than having to go through, but that might change here soon. We're just kind of playing it by ear as far as, if it stays off short or it goes back on short.
If it stays off short, someone that would be looking to get on a GLP 1, 2, or 3, how much do you think it would cost monthly?
It depends. I mean, there are some places that are they're trying to actually the manufacturer is trying to come up with multi-dose vials to make it a little more cost effective or get it to where a lot more insurances will cover it. We'll see if that happens. But right now you have people spending $9,000, $1,200 a month to try to stay on these medications.
$900 to $1,200 a month.
Yeah.
Is it true that in other countries you can get it for free?
Well, I mean, listen, there's a lot of stuff you could just walk into a pharmacy in other countries and just grab it. I don't know about free. I know there's some places that it's pretty cost effective.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah.
So we went through what are GLP-1s, how you should take them. We talked about the fact that it is not a magic bullet. You know, you do need to still keep up with your nutrition. You need to keep up with your exercise. Another thing I want to touch on is kind of like the societal view on GLP-1s. Why do you think they get such a bad rep with all the positives that comes along with it that's proven?
I mean, listen, a lot of them are good and bad are warranted, you know, because of the application of the way it was kind of presented to be used is pretty flawed. You know, it's very cookie cutter to the masses. So if you want to look at it from like a medical standpoint, a medical community, one, if they're not monitored prior to going on it, because there are some issues you should be screened for, medullary thyroid cancer, making sure you don't have any history of gastroparesis, which means that food moves slow through your stomach because you're about to slow it down even further, and people could get constipated or septic, depending if they're not going to the restroom. There are some issues that could come up, pancreatitis if you have it or undiagnosed. So you do have a lot of places just putting it out there and not really screening the client. But where I think the medical community is frowning upon it is people are taking it to starve, and they're losing weight, but they're losing the wrong type of weight. And that's one of my biggest complaints with it. And they're fine for now, but they're setting themselves to be worse off when they're done. If they don't fix their food, if they lost it the wrong way, it's going to be 10 times harder to manage the weight because they lost a lot of their metabolic energy or their muscle that they had to be able to eat more food and manage the weight. So you have the medical side demonizing it, right?
Right.
You have some of that coming from the manufacturers so they could stop people from using it, so they could catch up in production, so they could say, you got to get it through me now, right? So you have that side of things, because I think a lot of people are confused. And then you have the people that are maybe in the health and fitness world that demonize it because they're like, well, you're cheating because you're taking this and you suck it up, buttercup, and you got to have more discipline and willpower. And I mean, yes, but also you got to remember, like, I don't agree with that, because I think a lot of people that have earned it or got to that, they had better habits. They learned about nutrition. They were physically active. Like, you shouldn't shit on somebody else because maybe they weren't brought up that way. They didn't have the knowledge that you had. They didn't really focus on it until it became a problem. And, you know, the risk of them going on it versus not going on it, I look at it as like, you're better off going on it if that's the thing that's going to get you eating better and getting your body composition in a better spot. To each his own. Personally, I just think if you're ever going to do it, it needs to be applied with some of the fundamentals of physical activity, proper nutrition, optimizing sleep, and not just using it as like a non-invasive gastric bypass or sleeve, which a lot of people are doing. So, you know, for someone to shit on somebody else for doing it, like, I'm someone I've always been in nutrition. I've always worked out. I've always, you know, but I also teach people how to do that. And I feel like a lot of people in the world we're in they just need that nudge, and they need to see some initial success. And if that's the thing that does it for them, that starts this like cascade of positive health changes, more power to you.
I think a lot of people look at GLPs as like the miracle drug that can, quote unquote, essentially solve obesity. Do you think it has the potential to do something like that?
Done right, yes. But unfortunately, I don't think it's been used right. And that's I'm kind of like, I love it done right, but not a lot of people are applying it the way it should be done. They're not setting the foundation and fundamental that has to be there on the way down and after to make sure the outcome's good and it's long-term versus short-term quick fix. And so I think it's remarkable, but I also think there's going to be a lot of people in a bad spot. I'm seeing it already, that we're having to clean up a mess of a metabolically damaged person coming through because they took that, they starved it off, and now it's like, oh, shit, what do I do? Stay on it just to not gain weight? I mean, it's same concept of starving weight off or going and getting a gastric bypass or sleeve. Those people just don't eat much. They can't eat much. They lose the weight, and then eventually they get stuck, and then they start eating just a little bit more, maybe as things expand, and what happens? They put all their weight back on and then some. It's just, it sucks. I hate seeing that happen. You know, I've been for the last couple of years since Ozempic came to the market. It's just make sure you're not just using this. Don't use this as a crutch. Like let's make some other changes and use this as a tool to make these changes super simple to make, a lot easier. Like I would say I got a toolbox with a bunch of cool tools, apply them right, cut the corners, make it a little bit easier, but still the foundation, make sure that foundation is super rock solid and you're going to be good.
Mm-hmm. So for people listening that do want to get on GLP-1s, obviously if they live in Florida, super easy, you just call T-Clinics. Yep. But for someone that wants to do it the right way and doesn't live in Florida, where's a good place to start to
I think find a physician that's proactive versus reactive. You know, I do love that people are becoming more health conscious and there's more providers saying, I'm done doing medicine this way. Symptom medication,
mm-hmm.
right? So you have a lot more physicians going more the root cause functional route, which is cool. Find someone that's like a little bit more proactive versus reactive, that's more open to using some of these cool resources to help you get it done. Obviously, if you qualify for it through insurance, you know, obviously you could do it for diabetes. If you do got some type 2 diabetes, that's probably your chance to get it and not have to break the bank. If you're getting it for weight management, as long as you're obese with some cofactors and your insurance is good enough to pick it up. I've seen a lot of people be the right candidate for it through insurance, but insurance won't touch it. They don't want to spend the money on it. So it just vet that out first. Obviously local in our markets, at Nuviva, it's more detailed nutrition. And then we still are able to use it very specific to the person to just make sure we get the good and none of the bad and not really create a bigger problem when it's all said and done. So find someone who's proactive, someone that's willing to work with you, but also be ready to make some changes with your food. Sure.
So if you live in Florida and you do want to start on your GLP journey, give Nuviva Medical Weight Loss a call. Besides that though, thank you for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. We'll try to get to them and we will see you next week.